Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you go a little deeper into Colossians 2, verse 18, especially about the worshiping of angels?
Yeah.
Because it made me think of 1 Timothy and the mediator verse.
Yeah. It's kind of an odd. There's not a lot of explanation, or he just kind of is hitting these things real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go over the verse. Verse 18, chapter 2 of Colossians. Let no man beguile, deceive you out of your reward. Okay, so it's not talking about your salvation. It's talking about your service, right? That's what we get rewarded for. In voluntary humility and worshiping of angels. Okay, and I was looking this up a lot because whenever it says the word angels, it's a very generic word. Messenger, right? And messengers can mean different things. Can be a pastor, could be a missionary, can be a spiritual being, cherubim, seraphim, those kind of things, And I thought, is this like putting certain people up on a pedestal? Well, I could never be like Billy Graham, that kind of thing. Or what? It's so the more I looked into it, all I could find is the concept of actual spirit beings and not people. Okay, and so I wasn't gonna throw that out, and when I have nothing to really back it.
I think the rest of the verse seems to suggest that.
Yeah, well, it says, but the problem, intruding into those things which he had not seen.
Exactly.
So that means like the spiritual realm,
Right.
and not the other, yeah. Vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind. So in other words, there's people that were trying to say that we are so low, we can't worship God. The best we can do is worship angels. And if you think that you could actually pray to God on your own or anything like that, well, then you're arrogant. Well, it's not that we can go before God on our own. We can go before God because of what Christ did. So that's not arrogance at all. But it was this concept. That's why it says, I think it talks about voluntary humility, but yet they are puffed up in their fleshly minds. They're thinking, aren't we better than everyone else? You think you can do this. And so what they're really saying then is, what Christ did isn't enough. That payment wasn't enough for you to go boldly before the throne of grace. You can't do that. And we're better than you because we don't even think of ourselves like that. So we worship angels, kind of thing.
When you were searching that, did you find any ties to Gnosticism or anything?
Well, Colossians in general is anti-Gnostic. So in general, it very much is. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought about.
Yeah. That's why you'll see, if you understand Gnosticism, and just a little background, the word comes from to know, basically. If you've heard of an agnostic, that's just putting the letter A in front of it. It means I don't know. Okay, so the Gnostics, they believe they had secret knowledge. And that's why you'll see little things in here, like in chapter 2, verse 3, in whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Like, the Gnostics don't have it. It's in Christ, And you'll see that little hints of those things throughout Colossians, and it's going against Gnosticism that was rearing its ugly head probably since the garden, when it talks about the mystery, okay, because Gnostics, they believe we have secret knowledge, and yet he reveals what the mystery is in chapter 1, verse 27, he says, the mystery, which is Christ in you. So that was hid and is now revealed. That's what the biblical term mystery means. Not like a murder mystery where it's something that was hid, now revealed. The church would be one of those things. In the Old Testament, it's hidden. It's not revealed. Once you understand it, you go back and go, oh, yeah, I can see pictures of it, right? So yeah, it could very much have to do with Gnosticism there too.
So then, in correlation with that, if you're saying this might not be the messenger, pastor,
It doesn't look like it because of that.
what would that fall under then? Because that's obviously something that goes on now,
Yeah,
where people believe they have to go through saint, or they have to go through
right.
what does that fall under then? As far as not Gnosticism, but then something else, what would that?
Well, it would definitely be considered a cult,
Sure.
I
I mean, would that be humanism, or what, I mean, where would you go with that?
as far as giving it
As far
an
as you guys
ism.
always like to give names to these things.
An ism?
I'm still learning them, so.
Well, Catholicism, because that's kind of parallels that. You don't go directly through Christ, you go to Mary, you go through saints, you go through, yes?
So along with Mary, isn't that considered an idolatry thing?
I would say so. Yeah. What's that?
They don't.
No, they don't.
Obviously, they're not reading the book.
They don't. They don't.
That's what they say about us.
It's the word and tradition. Is what they
Yeah.
I think 1 Timothy is a really good thing for that.
Chapter 4?
Isn't it chapter 2?
I don't know which passage you're talking about.
The mediator one?
Oh, okay, that's, yeah. Chapter 4 is about the abstaining from meats and doctrines of devils.
1 Timothy 2:5.
Yep. There's one God, one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time.
Yeah. How many people do you know have never read the Bible? And even the ones that did, didn't have.
I'm just saying, like, what I'm gonna be facing is probably a lot of different people that are gonna have stuff thrown at me like that, so I'm trying to reserve as much information as possible of.
Well, you already have it all. Did you hear anything? Christ lives in you.
Yes.
It's all there.
It doesn't mean that my flesh won't screw it out.
Oh, I understand that. I'm with you on that. Happens regularly on my part.
Okay, anything else?
Not on that, huh?
Okay.
Okay, so from a little while ago, actually, I had it written down and I lost in all my notes. 1 Kings 8:41.
I take it this isn't about the sermon.
No, we could get around that later. Like I said, this is from a little while ago.
The ark. That?
Yeah, is that the start of the prediction of end times? Like, is that where they're already telling you? Or no. I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing. Where he's talking about welcoming in outsiders, is that a prediction that he's going to welcome in the Gentiles?
Okay, what specific?
I think it's 41, maybe it's 4. Moreover concerning the stranger, yeah, so moreover concerning the stranger that is not of thy people, so
Yeah.
they wouldn't be Israelites,
Right,
and they come from a far country
Yeah.
for my name's sake.
yeah.
So am I assuming correctly that that's him saying to them already, I'm going to be welcoming in outsiders, the Gentiles?
Yeah, this isn't the first time though. All the way from the very beginning. So you have the first man, Adam, not Jewish. right? And you had Abel, then you had the line of Seth, you had Noah. There was always a remnant of believers. And then you have God calling out Abraham. And when he does, he makes a very specific promise that through you, all the families of the earth would be blessed. So it's very important to always, when you're looking at an account in Scripture, to step back and see how that fits in with the other accounts. So the calling of Abraham is Genesis 12. Well, Genesis 11 is the Tower of Babel, right? So God had scattered the people, confused the languages. So the question would always be then, how would anyone know when the promised seed of the woman that he made way back in the garden, right? The promised seed of the woman, when that person comes, how's anyone going to know who he is? And the answer comes in Genesis 12, because he's going to take this man, Abram, take him out of his country, away from everything, put him in a land, and all of a sudden make his name great, and all of these promises, so that people will know, oh, the Messiah was born in Israel. Okay? So, from the very beginning, God has wanted all people. And here's just another example of, I'm using the nation of Israel. Some are believers, some are unbelievers, but I'm using that nation so the world can know where the Messiah is going to be born. All these prophecies will be fulfilled, and the whole world should be coming to Israel. That was really how God wanted to use the nation. You trust me, and I will bless your socks off, and that will cause the nations to come. And when they do, they'll understand the law of God, the holiness of God, the sacrificial system that all pointed to Christ. And the best that took place was during part of Solomon's reign, where people were coming all over to see who this Solomon was and why does he have this great wisdom and so on. But basically, the nation of Israel failed repeatedly in doing what they were supposed to be doing. But yeah, that would be just another example of him saying, it's not, I'm using the Jews, but it's not just for the Jews. It's for all people.
Sure, because I didn't know what
Yeah.
substring were they specific.
Yeah, Gentiles. Gentiles, yep.
So this section, anyways, if you keep reading, it specifies that what he's saying about the strangers, that they come and they're praying towards the temple. Solomon is dedicating the temple.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of the whole context of what it's talking about regarding strangers coming.
Yeah.
Is them coming to pray
Yeah.
towards the temple.
Yep. So Gentiles, not Jews.
You know, that makes me wonder. There's a lot of, the law is very specific about Jews, about the things that they're supposed to do to live the Jewish life.
Yeah.
I can't think of any place where the Gentiles were told how to live the life after God did the Bible.
So like in the Old Testament, if they were what we'd call proselyte, they became Jewish. Yeah. Then they would follow the laws.
So that was the path was to convert.
Yeah. 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 So they would see that they have a concept of the righteousness of God through the law. They would start to understand the whole sacrificial system. There's nothing you can do to remedy your problem. You need a substitute. You need something to die in your place.
That went back all the way to the beginning.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
and they understood that for all intents and
I think you go all the way back to the garden, right?
Yeah.
As soon as they get booted out.
Yeah, this was just more specifics, and then more things
Yeah.
to show that
Yeah.
we were never gonna be able to do it our own.
Right. Right. It's kind of what's called progressive revelation. you go from a time frame of Adam, and he has the information of a seed of a woman. Not a whole lot of information. As time goes on, you get more and more and more information on who that promised seed is going to be. So when he says seed of a woman, could be about anyone, because any descendant is going to be of her, right? And so, but the more information you get, the more it narrows it down to it has to be Christ, Jesus, So, anything else?
Not on that, but I have other stuff if nobody else has stuff.
I have one. It's on Eli. Which one's the one that was sitting in the chair when he fell over and he died?
Oh,
Was that Samuel? or-
Eli.
Eli, Sam.
Eli, he was porking out at the buffet that his kids were doing.
Yeah. So that was kind of what I had a question on, because I'm thinking about like today, in the modern times, how people, we've talked about like, you're supposed to kind of like let the children leave the nest and things like that. Or like your spouse, and you're supposed to put Christ first and stuff like that. But we tend to not do that because we love that other person. Do you think Eli, I'm not sure how to word it. Do you think he chose to do things wrong with his children because he loved them?
Well, people will say that, but the reality is they love themselves. Okay? So some parents will say, oh, I could never do that. I love the kid too much. No, you love yourself too much, because if you love the kid, you would do that.
Yeah.
You would discipline them. You would take the time to train them. You would do whatever it takes for their sake. That's what love is. Not, I don't want the hassle, I don't want the problem, I don't want to do this, and so on. So Eli is told his problem. He refused to restrain his kids. As a parent, let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 2. Verse 29. Yeah, 2:29. 1 Samuel. Wherefore kick ye at my sacrifices and at my offering. So you're disregarding the sacrifices, you're disregarding the offerings, which I have commanded in all my habitation, and you honor your sons above me to make yourself fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Israel, of my people. So
I think that's where my question came.
So if you go back to what his sons were doing, the people were bringing offerings, and some of it was to go to God, some of it was to be burnt, and they'd say, no, we want it right now. We want it the way it is. We want to take what we want to take, and if you don't like it, we're going to take it by force. And instead of Eli standing up and doing what the law commanded, he let his sons do that. Why? Because he was mowing on it too.
So that makes me think of Cain and Abel when we talk about offerings.
Okay?
But that was kind of my question with Eli, because if Eli knew full well, and back then they didn't have like the Holy Spirit, I mean, he would come and go as please, the Holy Spirit, whereas when Christ died, it's now inside him. So did Eli make the choice to do this stuff knowing full well that he could enter into hell?
Well, I don't think it's about losing. I don't think it's about losing salvation. I don't think he can lose it. I think Eli was just wanting to enjoy the best part of the food that was supposed to be burnt up or go to God, and he did not restrain his sons. There's another passage about that, verse 13 of chapter 3.
Well, it was more than just food.
Right.
They were doing a lot of
Right.
really bad things.
Yeah, and so my question is do people not choose God because their choice is that they want to be, and I'm not saying Eli is in hell or anything like that, I'm just saying, do they make the choice to reject God because they want to be in hell, because somebody else might be there?
Not that there's sin.
That's sin.
Yeah. I think that someone that has the full knowledge and understanding of their sinful condition and what God has done and everything like that, some people will use things like that as an excuse. I knew an old gentleman that old farmer, married, from a young age, and him and his wife were inseparable.
Okay.
Whole life. Okay. She passed away. And he tried witnessing to him, and no, if she's in hell, then I want to be there with her. Well, you won't be with her.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I think, I don't know if he really had an understanding what he understood.
And that's why I was curious, like, do people do that?
I think people can use it as an excuse, just like people can use evolution or something like that as an excuse.
I was just using Eli because he was about as close as I could come to thinking.
So,
That's why I was using Eli. I
Cha-
know Eli was a man of God.
I'm assuming he's saved. That's an assumption on my part. But he certainly did not live a godly life.
Yeah. But he taught, there when we were in 2, he talked with God and stuff like that. So,
Well, he did in his early days, but the voice of God was not coming to him.
oh,
Okay, and he could instruct Samuel, because when Samuel came to him and said, "You called for me." "No, I didn't." "You called?" "No, you didn't." "Oh, you're probably hearing God's voice."
yeah.
Chapter,
Talk with God too. Can talk with God too.
yeah,
And walk with him.
not in a good sense though, just in a physical sense.
Yeah, and it's business.
Chapter 3, verse 13, "For I've told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knoweth, because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not." So he knew it. He refused to do anything about it. He was enjoying the fat and the good steak cuts or whatever,
So he was enjoying the world of flesh and not caring about the after.
Yeah, so when people say, "Oh, I could never do that because I love my kids," no, that's not love. You would not say Eli loved his sons.
The parents that are divorced and try and be the friend rather than the parent are not helping their kids at all.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think it causes confusion for the child as well, because then they're confused about what they should do with their lives.
yeah, and it's kids thrive on stability and predictability. You can function. If mom says this and it's this, and when it's not this, then this happens. That consistency, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
And they're not catching them by surprise. And that stability and all of that, that is very comforting. What builds anxiety? Not knowing. Right?
Spinning the stories in your head of what
Right. Maybe it's this, maybe that. No, when you know exactly what's going to happen, it helps take away that. And I think that's why I think a lot of young people are so anxious, is there's no stability. There's no predictability. They don't know. You know?
I
So,
don't have that assurance that a parent will be a parent. Like if I said you're grounded, you're grounded.
right. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the opposite side too.
Yeah.
Zach, you've probably experienced this. One of our kids from Wednesday, hey, can you give me a ride to church? Yes. How many times have you had people ask you 100 times before you can get there? Yeah. Right. And this happened to me, and Zach gives way more rides than I do. But they call me again or text me again. Yeah, I will be there at this time. 5 minutes later, I get another text. Yes, I will be there at this time. 5 minutes later, you know what I get? Forget it, I found another ride.
Yep.
They are so unstable, they're so used to people not being there when they say, that they can't trust anyone. And it's
So I
very
kinda-
sad.
I kind of get that. 'Cause I remember one time I got grounded, and I told my mom, I was like, "There's no point. You're gonna have me ungrounded you're gonna say it's gonna be a week, but you're gonna ask me to go do something within the day, and it's gonna be gone." I
Wow.
actually said that to my mom, and I think she held out for 2 days. It was bad, but yeah, there was that.
Yeah, so, all right, anything else?
I don't want to step on anybody's feet. Of course I've got some.
Are you kidding?
Sure.
I'll push you down in the
Okay,
mud.
me and my dive into the New Testament, we picked on the whole pig story. Now we're gonna pick on the blind men story, Matthew 20 and Luke 18. So it's Luke 18:35 and Matthew 20 is the very end of it.
29, verse 29.
So.
They departed from Jericho, a great multitude followed him.
Yes, and.
Oh, this is a fun one.
And I double checked. He's also leaving Jericho with a guy that just has one guy. And he says the same thing to him.
And as they departed from Jericho,
What was the one for Luke, since you mentioned both?
18, I thought.
Luke is 18:35,
Thank you.
and Matthew is
29.
29. Yeah.
Yeah, right away, Luke 18:35. Came to pass as he was come nigh unto Jericho. So what does that mean?
Close.
Night?
He's coming close.
Okay.
He's approaching it. Matthew, he's leaving it.
Okay, there it is. That one word made the difference.
Yeah. A lot of times they like
That's why
to,
I asked.
yeah, a lot of times they like to blend the accounts in the gospel. And a lot of times they are different. They're similar, but they're different. So a lot of times you'll
A
have,
couple of days before on the Luke one, and we had actually talked about it at some point that week as well. And then I went back through and there was a Matthew one just a couple of days ago, and I was like, hold on, I just read this story a
Yep.
couple of days ago.
so we can go through it again, no problem. Matthew 20, verse 29, they departed from Jericho, a great multitude followed him, and behold, two blind men sitting by the wayside. Is that? Okay, that's a bleed through. When they heard that Jesus passed by, cried out, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, thou Son of David." The multitude rebuked them because they should hold their peace. But they cried the more, saying, "Have mercy on us, O Lord, thou Son of David." Jesus stood still and called them. what will you that I should do unto you? And they said unto him, Lord, that our eyes may be opened. So Jesus had compassion on them, touched their eyes. Immediately their eyes received sight, and they followed him. Okay. Luke 18:35. Came to pass as he was come close to or nigh unto Jericho, a certain blind man sat by the wayside begging. Hearing the multitude pass by, he asked what it meant, and they told him, Jesus of Nazareth passed by. He cried, saying, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And they which went before rebuked him that he should hold his peace. But he cried so much more, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stood and commanded him be brought unto him. And when he was come near, he asked, What will you that I should do unto thee? And he said, Lord, that I may receive my sight. And Jesus said, Receive thy sight, thy faith hath saved thee. And immediately he received his sight and followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, gave praise to God.
Do you think he told his blind buddies after he got healed? He knew of a couple other blind guys. He said, "This is what you need to do."
On the other end of town?
Yeah.
Maybe, because then chapter 19, Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Okay, so he's approaching, he picks up one, he goes through, he picks up two.
He slipped him a note in Braille.
Okay. And another weird question. It's kind of similar type question, just to verify.
Okay.
I don't know where James and John ask, I think it's in Luke as well, but they ask to be at his right hand. But then when I read through the Matthew version,
Yeah.
Matthew 20:20, Zebedee's wife asks. So was Jesus actually asked twice? By the boys and then by the mom as well?
Do you know where the other passage was? I'm trying to think.
Matthew 20:20 is where it says Zebedee's wife.
Right. It says the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping him, desiring certain things of him. She said, and he said to her, What wilt thou? And she said, Grant that my two sons sit, one on your right hand and the other on your left.
I want to say it's.
So the other one is
Mark 10:35 through 45.
Yep.
Sorry, Mark what?
10:35 to 45.
And James and
Yeah.
John. Yeah.
Came unto him saying, Master, read what thou do for us when it was desired. He said, What should I do for you? He said, Grant that we sit one on your right, one on your left. He said, You know not what you ask. Can you drink? Yeah, I remember this one. You don't know what you're asking.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you drink of the cup I drink of, or be baptized? This is a great one. With the baptism that I am baptized with?
And they're like, yeah, we can.
Right. And you want to get into a discussion of baptism? What does Jesus mean?
He's talking about being hung on the cross, isn't he?
Yeah. And they said to him, We can. And Jesus said, You shall indeed drink of the cup that I drink of, and you will be baptized and with the baptism that I am baptized, you shall be baptized. But to sit on my right and on my left is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them who is prepared.
So
Then the 10 hear it.
He's telling them that they're going to die, like flat out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do they die the same way that Jesus did?
Well, John doesn't.
Naturally.
John doesn't. But he picks that up in the Gospel of John. When Peter finds out he's going to die, he says, Well, what about him? He goes, Well, what's it to you? None of your business. You know?
In verse 4, he says it's not Jesus' call anyway.
Yeah.
So would it be wrong to assume he was asked the same question twice?
No, I don't think that's wrong to assume.
How patient is he that he's
Where-
like, I already answered this question once. The answer is no. Like, go away.
Yeah. No, we're what's that?
So,
It's not
that
that
Bible
long.
verse that you were talking about, so when you read farther down in Mark, it's talking about the lineman thing too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Mark supported it too. So I mean, so I'm doing what's it called when you go through all the storyline like in time?
Oh, like chronological?
Thank you. So I'm doing the chronological one of the New Testament, and that's why it's like,
Okay. Yes.
sometimes my mind is like, well, we just
Yeah.
read about that a couple of days ago.
And they're
Yeah.
saying that it's Bartimaeus.
Yeah, one of them is named.
Yeah, so as they're leaving
Probably in Mark.
Jericho. Yeah, it's in Mark, it's
Yeah.
verse 46, as they're leaving Jericho. It says that he was healed.
Yeah. In most Bible colleges, they'll have what's called like the Life of Christ class, and a lot of times they'll use something called like a book called The Harmony of the Gospels, or they'll take and they'll try to put all of the Gospels together in one read and study it that way. And I personally think that it's a mistake to do it that way. One, God didn't give it to us that way. He gave it to us specifically in 4 separate accounts. Two, when like Becky and I went through our Life of Christ class, and it wasn't necessarily the school, but the teacher that we had relied heavily on commentaries. And a lot of times the commentaries would say things like, well, this is the same account, just 2 different observations. Like you saw 1 and the other guy saw 2, like that doesn't wash,
Right.
And there was a lot of that because they were blending similar accounts that were different. And I think that there's reasons that God gave us 4 separate gospels, and there's 4 different emphasis. And when you blend them, you kind of lose that, When you read Matthew, you can't help but notice the Jewishness of it. He's really focused on quoting the Old Testament and trying to show that. And so it has a whole different feel to it and focus. John's gospel is way different. You get in, chapter 12, and it's right around that time that it's already getting into the crucifixion and resurrection, And so his whole half of his gospel is focused on those last days of Christ. So they're all very different in things. So I think it's good to go through each one separately and compare at the end and try to notice those things.
Bartimaeus was the 4th blind.
Where is it?
Just say.
I have more from Luke.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what they mean. Luke 17:37. And they answered and said unto him, Where's the Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, that there will be eagles be gathered together.
Yeah.
So, what's
Yeah.
up with the eagles? Like, what's this mean? Because I didn't know the whole worm thing.
Right.
So maybe I just don't know something.
Yeah. So this is in the context of like the second coming of Christ.
Okay.
Okay. Matthew 24 hits this also, says something very, very similar.
It's the second coming or what?
Second coming, I believe.
Revelation 19:21.
Yeah.
Why do you say second?
Because Luke's talking about 2 women will be grinding together, one will be taking the other lap.
Yeah.
And then the other one will be taking the other.
Why isn't that rapture?
And then
So that
'Cause
that would definitely.
I remember you talking about it.
Because you want to be left, you don't want to be taken.
Well, look at verse 24.
Oh.
As describing, so shall the Son of Man be in his day.
Yeah.
So the good ones get killed.
Yeah, they're all taken away when he comes back to establish his kingdom. Just like in the days of Noah, the evil people were killed, taken away. Noah was left. You might want to reference Matthew 24, 28. Wheresoever the carcasses is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So when there is a great destruction or killing, then that's where the birds of prey are going to go.
Majestic eagles go there.
What's that?
Majestic eagles go there.
Yeah.
The dead.
Revelation 19. I don't know if someone already mentioned this verse. Flip over there. 19:17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun. He cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst, "Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that you may eat the flesh of kings and the flesh of captains, flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses, and them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, small and great." So,
Well, it wasn't the
horse bridle.
bridles.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think that that's talking about when Christ comes back, there's a great slaughter, and the birds of prey will be flying in, the eagles, whatever, to feast on that.
To feast on
The dead,
On his
the
dead.
corpse. Yeah, they get killed.
So, where are the believers that are alive when he does that?
They're going to be scattered, but there's going to be a major holdout of the Jews in Petra.
But they're not going to be
Or
in this
Basra.
battle per se.
No, I think that.
That's all
So
taken care of.
when we talk about like the Battle of Armageddon,
Yeah.
it's that valley of Jezreel that the armies of the world would be gathering against to go against Jerusalem. Well, Jerusalem. Yeah. So there's going to be holdouts and everything. Yeah.
So his second coming, we come back with him.
Yes.
Are we there at that battle? Or are we just there
We're-
to enter into the kingdom?
We are like spectators, I think.
Because we aren't actually
We're
fighting.
not doing it.
At that point, when he had already gone to Basra and
I think so.
Israel, so then we could be there, like, taking care of the Israelites as he's out front doing his thing.
I don't know.
We'll find out what happened.
Yeah.
It'll be a medic.
Medic.
Yeah.
Because at that point, there's no more, right at that time, there's no more believers that are dying.
Yeah, as soon as he gets back.
Right. That's
Yeah.
the end of
That's
that
the
for
end of
believers.
Yeah.
Forever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because as far as during the 1,000-year reign, believers
Yeah.
aren't dying.
Right.
If I've understood that. right.
Yes, that's what I believe, because the Bible speaks of the first resurrection that happens right before the 1,000-year reign. And if that's the first resurrection, there's the second, or at the end for the unbelievers, there's no resurrection mentioned in between that time period. So that's why I think that there's no believers who die after the kingdom is established.
So like when it says a child will die.
That's an unbelieving, rebellious.
Unbeliever.
Yeah, when we say unbeliever, it's not like he doesn't believe in Jesus. Jesus is physically there. He's not relying on him for payment of the sins or anything like that. So, Anything else?